Like there's a level of sweet, I don't even know the word for it. If Harvey can fall, none of them are safe.
There's so much to be gained by exposing the truth.
I knew about it. I told him that I knew. He came in very aggressively, yelling and screaming, "Why do you write this stuff about me? What have you heard about me?" And I thought, well, it's kind of now or never. So I said, "I've heard you rape women."
Despite Harvey Weinstein's consistent denials of any non-consensual sex, the allegations of abuse made by women against him have exploded beyond Hollywood, creating a cultural tipping point. They've forced a deep examination of who we are to one another, whatever industry we work in and wherever we live. Unlike the other stories Hollywood tells itself and us, this is no fairy tale. It ends with guilt and shame, the luster gone out of this city of lights. And the women at the centre of this story are finding their voices and recovering their strength.
I was young and looking for work, and it was when an opportunity presents itself and it's to work for someone like Harvey Weinstein, it's really exciting, and everyone around you is telling you that it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and you'd be so stupid not to take that.
We met Alexis Cohn Anselmo in Santa Monica. But 3 years ago, she was living in London, 25, and a journalism graduate. That July, a friend who worked for Weinstein asked her to run a paid errand. She ended up flying to France and then to Sun Valley, Idaho, to deliver Harvey Weinstein's briefcase to him in his hotel room.
Harvey kind of grabbed it from me, and then at that point he shooed the other assistant out of the room and kind of closed the door on him, and he asked if I would give him a massage. And I was really taken aback and nervous and shaking and so scared in so many ways. And I thought that he was going to sit down at the table in his suite. And I think that I said sure when he asked for a massage, but he didn't sit down at the table. He went to the bed and towards the bed, and he started taking off his shirt, and he asked if he could take off his pants, and before I could even answer, I think I swallowed. He took them off, and I think that I put my hands on his shoulders for about a minute. He asked me to take my top off. I said I wasn't comfortable. He asked again and again. And it was just this come on, honey, come on, come on, come on. And that kind of verbal pressure.
Alexis told us Weinstein kissed her forcefully on the mouth and put his hand up her shirt.
He asked if he could masturbate in front of me in the bathroom. He said, "I won't touch you." I said, "No, I really want to leave. I'm very tired, no." And he said, "I'll be a gentleman tonight and I'll let you go." Before I left that room, he told me that I could stand to lose a bit of weight, and he said just around the middle.
So you get out of there?
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
I showered for about 3 hours. I just kept on getting in the shower, and I said that it was because I felt dirty from all the flights that I'd been taking. You know, that's what you tell yourself. And I remember sending him a thank you message. He had said before I left that room that he would get me a meeting with another producer in London to work on a film set that he was producing. So I said thank you to him. And through all of it, I felt very polite and professional, and I tried to uphold that side of myself.
Did you think about calling your mom or your sister and telling them what had happened?
I didn't think of myself as a victim at that time. It felt sad to me, but it felt like something that was just normal.
She was to keep her secret for another 2.5 years before revealing what had happened in a story she wrote and read at a women's event in Canada.
They were holding on to every word, and they were sad. And so many of them came up afterwards and just said, "I'm so sorry that that happened to you."
Revelations of abuse and assault are peeling back the facade of Hollywood, shattering reputations of the powerful and the political, rippling from Westminster to Capitol Hill, from New York to LA. Setting the scene for an urgent and overdue reckoning.
Realistically, what time do you have? And I'll,
How much do you want?
well, can I have 15 minutes?
Let's try. Let's see. I mean, there's going to be an onslaught of networks in about 30 seconds.
The day we meet Kim Masters, Hollywood Reports editor-at-large, she's on the crest of another story of alleged sexual misconduct. Disney has just suspended the head of Pixar Animation. The veteran journalist says Weinstein had been on her radar for years, but his power and legal reach kept the story hidden, even after she asked him about it directly.
From that moment forward, I couldn't look at or interact with Harvey Weinstein without this sort of feeling that I'm hoping the clock is ticking on you. And, you couldn't not deal with Harvey Weinstein and cover this industry because he was that central.
You talk about whether or not people are redeemable. Is Weinstein redeemable?
No, absolutely not. Harvey Weinstein is not coming back. He's done.
But would the end of Harvey Weinstein mean a change in the culture?
Since we started these reports and the kinds of calls and emails we're getting from women telling us about their experiences, it's become pretty clear to me that some large Hollywood institutions the culture is so rooted in and permeated in, not necessarily every single one being a sexual harasser, but a sort of a boys' club with boy behavior. That is why the statistics have been consistently grim, in my opinion, in terms of hiring women. They just need to kind of grow up and give it up for any real change to happen. Okay, that one I got to take, sorry. Yo.
We'll leave Kim to take her calls, but let's reflect on just how grim those statistics are. While women comprise more than half the cinema-going audience, in last year's top 100 grossing films, women made up only 4% of directors, 11% of writers, 3% of cinematographers, and 19% of producers.
So they put up this sign when the movies were silent and men very much ruled Hollywood. Now the movies talk, but men are still largely in charge of what stories are told and who gets to tell them. So is this the post-Weinstein moment when that finally begins to change?
Actor and writer Deanna Baxter is en route to her own singular revolution. But first, she's got a casting for a commercial to play a doctor.
But for the commercials, I mean, I go and have fun with them.
Hence the scrubs and the mass sighting of doctors wandering down the street to enter through the ad agency's swinging doors.
Southern trees bear strange fruit.
Acting might help pay the rent for this Emmy Award-winning artist, but right now she's seized by rewriting the story of Billie Holiday, herself a target for abuse and assault.
You can come in, you can take my body, you can, what else can you take from me? My body
She's working with a creativity coach, but also processing her own Me Too moments, the response by so many women sharing their stories of harassment and abuse.
Unfortunately, it was a norm. Sad to say, it was normal. But I think it's happening equally in all industries. Because it's Hollywood, the cameras are on. And with the cameras being on too, the silence can be even deeper.
Do you think for women of colour, you're even more vulnerable?
Yes. I don't want to say you're used to it. In some ways, you're more prepared because you're expecting the boundary to be crossed because it has been over and over again. Not just sexually, but just your worth has always been questioned.
I'm a film editor, so I always deal in honesty. I try to, at least. If all this denial could just get out of the way, we could start to rebuild and figure out what business we're in. And we're in the business of making films and making entertainment.
Maryann Brandon isn't just any film editor. She's one of the best working in the industry today. She won an Oscar nomination for cutting Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Oh, and she did Star Trek too. She's hopeful this is a moment of real change, but says the only thing that will guarantee that is if men and women are paid the same for doing the same job.
Yeah, I think it's really important. The perception is you are that person who's getting that money and getting that respect from the studio or a producer. Yeah, then you're not going to be open to being messed around with. We're not given that many shots. It's hard. You know, you make a mistake and it's not as easy as, you know, because there are less women in the business, your mistakes are more out there.
Amid these glittering lights, there's an overwhelming sense of opportunity lost. There are too few Maryanns who survive to make it to the top of their fields, and too many young women whose careers were ended or interrupted by obstacles they should never have had to overcome.
I just hope that no other young woman is ever led up to a hotel room like that or put in a position like that when they're at work. Because it's not, I was just trying to be professional.
Because you'd worked hard. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you'd done your masters, you were working as a writer, you were really doing everything you could.
Well, that professionalism I've kind of learned can hurt you at times, because sometimes it's important to listen to that voice inside, even if it means that you're going to be fired, even if it means that an opportunity will go down the drain. There are those moments where you just want to say no and run out of the room, and you should.
We put Alexis's allegations to Harvey Weinstein through his lawyers, and this was their response. Mr. Weinstein categorically denies behaving inappropriately towards Ms. Anselmo, who continued to work for the company and remained on good terms with him post-July 2014, as was willingly acknowledged by her on a number of occasions at the time. Alexis says she did go on to work for Weinstein on and off for a year until the following July. She was briefly on a film set in London and also an office-based assistant in New York.
I had kind of created a safeguard of how I could avoid those situations, and I never was in a hotel room with him alone again.
Was there ever a sense of, I suppose, guilt or shame? I mean, that's what other women have spoken about.
Of course, yeah, of course. There's a lot of shame around that experience, and then you ask yourself, why did I work for this person after that? Why didn't I see it in the way that the world has seen it now when it happened? I think that the secrecy around it is probably a big part of that.
Are you someone who would like to see Harvey in prison?
I don't know that that would change the way that I feel about it. I mean, there are days that I feel really angry and upset, and times when, you know, you feel that that person really is a monster and they deserve whatever is coming to them. But it's also not that, I've found that it's not that helpful for me in terms of my healing and understanding to feel that anger. It doesn't do anything to serve me.
This is Hollywood's golden opportunity for renewal, the moment it might emerge from a brutish past into an inclusive future. Either it holds its breath or everything begins to change.